Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. Today I'll be showing you how to build this 1.19 mangrove and mud fantasy cottage. For such a detailed build, this house is surprisingly simple to create, so let's get building. For this build, you'll need the materials on your screen now. Here is the outline for today's build. You can see that the back wall is 13 blocks across and the front is divided into two sections. There's also the tower marked in at the left. We'll start our build by creating a foundation using some mud bricks, some packed mud and some brown mushroom blocks. You can see I'm creating an outline here, which is one block in from our main outline, and this is the foundation the walls will sit on. And for this I'm just using some mud bricks. Now if you don't have brown mushroom blocks, that's fine, you can just use some packed mud and mud bricks. And I'm going to use these three materials to create a randomized texture for the visible section of the foundation. And this is just following the outline. It's up to you how much or how little of the the packed mud and the brown mushroom that you use, but I like to have a majority of the mud brick. Like with any form of randomizing, it always helps to take a step back and look at what you've created. I don't like the stripiness here with these brown mushroom blocks as they're all spaced 3 apart, so I'm going to break that up by changing around how I've got a few of these. That's better. Now I'll continue around my outline. Alright, that's good like that. Now I'm going to do the same thing around the outline of the tower. Once again, don't be afraid to make some changes as you're doing this randomizing. That's how you can get the look you want. And here's what we've got so far. Next I'm going to use some mud brick stairs to add a walk up to our entryway, and I'll fill in the floor with some jungle planks. I like the look of these jungle planks as they have a similar sort of colour to the mud brick. It works really well. Don't forget to add the floor into your tower. With that done, we can switch to some mangrove logs. These are going to be for the posts of our build. I'm going to be placing them in each of the corners like this. I'll also line up myself with these 2 ones at the front and place one in at the back. It should be 3 blocks away from this one and 5 blocks away from this one. We've got 1 block here and I'm going to go up an additional 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So our posts are a total of 5 high. Once all the posts are in, I'll come forward with some mangrove logs like this. So I've got 2 at the front, 2 coming out towards the side, and then on these 2 at the back. In between each of these groupings, I'm going to use some stripped mangrove logs, and these have a great decorative effect. I'll place 2 facing in towards the center, and then a decorative log facing forwards. You'll need to use a placeholder block to place these. I'm just using some more logs, but if you're in survival, you can use dirt for ease of breaking. With that in, I'll then connect up the rest of the posts using some regular mangrove logs. And here we've got a nice foundation for adding in our walls. We're going to create the walls for this build out of calcite and diorite. Now the idea for the diorite is that it's going to add a little bit of a worn, aged look to the calcite walls. So I'm going to use that sparingly like this in little groupings. Now at the front I've got a 2 high gap for a door. Next I'll fill in this section completely. And I'm going to leave a 2 by 3 area here for a window. Once that shape is in, you can fill in the hole with some light grey stained glass panes. Now on this wall I'm going to have a 1 by 2 high window. Once again I'm going to randomize as I go and fill in with glass. I'll have another 2 by 3 window at the back here. and then another 1x2 window on this wall. For this final wall, I'm just going to leave a little gap here for the doorway. That way we can connect it up easily to our tower. Here's how the build is looking so far. Continuing on with the walls, we're going to work on the walls of the tower here. I'm starting on the back wall, and like we did on the main part of the tower, I'm going to be using a mixture of calcite and diorite to create a randomized textured look. So first I'm going to build up and make a frame for a 2-high window, but the windows on the tower are going to be using iron bars. I'll also be placing a jungle log above it. Now you can see in creative you can place this quickly by breaking and placing the block really quick, but in survival you'll need to place in a placeholder block. I'm then putting in a 2-high gap here, and then I'm going to add in an area where I can add a window planter like this, so we have a total of 3 before I put in my next window, which is 3 blocks high. 1, 2, 3. And once again I will continue the frame up and around this. Like with the other window, I'm going to have a jungle log on top. And then just finish it off by building one above that window. So here's how the wall should look. I'm then going to rotate round to the side that's facing towards the left and begin building up. I need to build up 5 high here. And then we're going to have a doorway. There are no windows on this level, but there is a door. So I'm leaving in this 2-high gap for the door, and like we have over the windows, I'm adding in a jungle log. And I'll just finish off my randomizing here. And once again, don't forget you can always place blocks and replace them. So here's what I've got for this side. Now we're going to rotate round to the side that's facing towards the front of the build to start filling this in. This will also fill in this part of the side that we've left empty. I'm going to start once again by building up 2 high. But here I'm going to have a 3-high window. 1, 2, 3. So you can see the windows are not even around the tower, and this adds for a really characterful look. Once again, I'll build up my frame around here. And you can see I've got my log placed in already. Now that I've created a gap above this, I'm going to have one more set of blocks before I add in my next window, and this window is just 2 high. And I'll place in my log again. Add back in the rest of the frame. Let's see, I might move this block one more up. And I can finish off this wall. Here's how the tower should look. For the final wall we have to fill in of the tower, we need to complete this little back section, so I just have to fill in a strip that runs down the center. And I'm just going to go down to these mangrove logs here. Just like that. Continuing on with our walling blocks, we need to add in some gables on each of these sections here. I'm going to start by building up 2 high on either side, like this. And then create a window frame for a 1-high window here, which I'll fill in with some light grey stained glass. Then on top of that, I'll build up another 3 blocks. Just like this. And I want to create the same shape on the other windows, but I'm going to change up the way I'm randomizing the textures here, so each of the gables has its own look. There's the next one. And finally this one on the end. There we go. The other thing we need to add before we get adding the roof is a dormer window. So I've come to the side of the build here, and I'm going to build up 3 high, 1, 2, 3 with my mangrove logs, leaving a 1 block gap in the center, and you can see this is diagonal to this end gable here. I'll then add in my little window, and then I want to build 2 blocks above that as well. In addition to this, I'm going to rotate round to the back of the build here, and I'm going to add in a few blocks that are going to make up part of the chimney. These will be replacing blocks in the roof, so I'm going to add them in now. So you can see I've come to the diagonal behind this gable here, and I've just placed in this little kind of Tetris block shape, and it should be 2 blocks above this beam and set 1 block back. For the roofing, we'll be using some polished deep slate to begin with, and I'm starting on this front gable here. I'm going to work my way up and then back down the other side. So I've got a stair, then a block, then a stair. I'll place one in upside down, then 2 blocks and a stair coming forward, and then 2 more blocks. So it should look like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing coming down on the other side. And you can see this is sitting on top of these logs that are sticking out from the posts. Now I need to add a little curl on top, so I'm going to come to this deep slate block here, come out with a stair, go on top with another stair facing this direction, and then back in the other direction. And for the final stair, I'm just going to use a placeholder block and place it in upside down like this. Now we'll be using this deep slate edging design on the other 3 large gables, so leaving out this one on the dormer window here. I'll go with my stairs and blocks. And don't forget to add the little curl on the top. That really gives this build a fantasy feel. So that's the 3 edgings on our gable windows finished. Now I'm switching to the mangrove wood to fill in the rest of the roof, and I'll be leaving the area above this gable window empty. But first I'm connecting with the stairs, and then I'm just going to work my way up following the pattern we've got here with the deep slate. You'll see I'll be rotating around the corner, but still following the pattern as I go. Now when you get up to this point where you'll be going behind the window, just leave those blocks free. So I'll just come to here. And then I'll just be placing 1 row of mangrove planks on the very top here. And for this I will just go straight behind the back of this little dormer window. Now we'll fill in this section. It's a little bit tricky to see as we've got the tower there, but I'm just going straight across. Don't forget to connect up to this little bit of the roof. And then I need to join up the back. This stair should rotate here. And then we'll just need to make sure we're connecting up and curving around, even though it's quite a tight curve. Now you'll see here where we added in these blocks for the chimney that you won't need to place in any mangrove, just work around it. There's the back of the roof. Now to finish off the top of the roof with some details, I'm going to go in with some mangrove fences, and I'm spacing these out, leaving 1 block gaps in between. So you should end up with a fence connecting to each of the deep slate blocks here. I'll then join up with some mangrove fence gates. Here's how the roof should look. Now for the little dormer window, we need to add in some edging. And for this I'm just going to build a block out on either side with some stairs. I'll place some facing upside down, come up with a block and a stair facing forward, and then to finish this roof off, I'm going out with a block and then a stair facing outwards. We're not going to have such an elaborate curl here, it would be too big for the roof. Now I'm just going to connect up to the main section of the roof with my mangrove blocks. And finish off with some blocks at the top. Very cute. With this roof finished, let's work on the tower roof. I'm going to begin by creating some deep slate edging again. This time I'm placing stairs upside down facing outwards, leaving a gap in between. And I'll fill in the gap with some deep slate slabs. You can see this creates a really nice design. Now we'll work on the roof using some mangrove. I'll start by placing a mangrove in the center of each of these 3 wide sections and stairs on either side. I'll also place a stair on top, like that. Now I'll fill in the corners, building up 2 high with my mangrove planks. And connect these to create a kind of little U shape over the top of each of these stairs. I'll then build one up in the center of each and place a stair on top. Next, I'll build up 2 high with some more planks, and then 2 high with some fences. Look at that lovely spire. Before I move on from the mangrove stairs, let's add a little roof above the door here. I'm going to place in a stair, and this is on the block above, on either side, and then an upside down stair, and then I'm simply going to finish it off with 2 more stairs. These can be a little tricky to place, but aim to place it on the very corner of that block there. And then have one facing forward. I'm also going to come underneath the door and create the little walkout just by rotating the stairs around like that. The build's really coming along, and it's time to start adding in some decorations, starting with some decorations for the door. I'm creating a frame here using some mud brick walls, some jungle fences. I'm then going to go in with some mud brick stairs and a jungle log in the center like this. Above this, for the little window, I'm going to use jungle slabs and a fence, as well as 2 jungle trapdoors to create a small frame. And this is the same design I'm going to use on all of these 1 high and 1 wide windows. Like that. Coming back round to the front, I'm going to tackle this 2x3 window, starting with some slabs across the bottom and a jungle log in the center, going with some stairs either side and fences up the center. And then I'll finish off with 2 layers of trapdoors. These can be a little tricky to place, but when you flip them up like this, it creates a really nice paned window design. There we go, and I'll create the same thing on the other side. Like that. Now for these 1 high windows, I'm going to go across the bottom again with my jungle slabs, but then I'm going to build up 2 high on either side with mud brick walls, and then in the center with some jungle fences. Once again, a log on top, and then mud brick stairs on either side. So that's the windows on the main bit of the house tackled. Alright, I've switched out my inventory for a few more decoration blocks. I'm going to start by placing walls on each of the corners. Here I've got my mud brick walls. Okay, I've got all of those in. And I'm going to go in with some mud brick walls here as well. So I'm building these 2 high on each of the corners of the tower. Excuse me, Mr. Horse. Obviously here I only need to build 1 block high so it's level. I'll then go on top of each of these with a diorite wall. This just extends the base of the tower a little. It gives it a sort of tapered look. Now I'm going to move to some mangrove trapdoors, and I'm placing these on the bottoms of each of the posts. Also on the posts, I'm going to go in with some fences. And now I'll work on some window treatments for the tower. I'm going to use planters here, and for this I'm using mud. Of course you can use dirt, but mud is a wonderful mangrovey addition. I'm surrounding the mud with some mangrove trapdoors, and you'll notice that down here I only need to place it on the bottom and the front because we've got the walls connecting to the sides. You can plant whatever you like in these planters. I'm going to go with red tulips. I would advise against planting propagules because they do have a chance of growing and that would destroy your build. We're also using the mangrove trapdoors to add a railing to this walkout. And I'm just using one as a placeholder block, but you could of course use dirt. I want to place them so that if I was to put a tester block in here, you can place a block. If you can't, you just need to move your trapdoor one block out. I will, however, come to the inside here and place my trapdoor so that I can place a block on top of it from the outside, just like that. I also have these dead bubble coral fans. Now you don't have to add this if you don't have these, but I think they add a really fun addition to the tops of the windows. And I'm also going to add them underneath these gables. They just add a little bit of flair. Now for some lighting, and then we'll get working on the chimney. I'm gonna hang one from this tiny little gable here, as well as one from underneath, and you need to use chains here to hang them off of the stairs. I'm then going to hang one down 3 blocks, or 3 chains, 2, 3, from each of these large gables. I'll hang one block or one chain down from this gable here, like that, and then I want to hang one under the window as well. While we're out the front here, I'm going to place in my mangrove door, and make sure you place this from the inside on this clay brick block here, or rather mud brick block, so that way it's flush on the inside, and when you look from the outside, it's set back. Now onto the chimney. So we've already got this bit in, but I'm going to go another 3 blocks up using my calcite and diorite. Then I'm going to build up 3 high with some diorite walls. And to top it off, I've got a campfire which I'm going to surround with some jungle trapdoors. This build is looking really good. Let's see how you could go about styling it. So you can see that I've placed our fantasy house in a dark oak biome. Now this house would look great in any biome, but I like the pops of red that come here in the dark oak that play off of the red colour of the mangrove. You can also see that I have draped some mangrove leaves off the top of the roof, and I think this adds a lushness to the build. I've kept the landscaping simple with a little pond, a meandering path, and then some mushrooms and red flowers, again tying into the colour of the build. But let's take a look inside now. I've packed quite a lot into this small space so you can really make the most of a build like this. Here I've got a little entryway, and I've kept some simple decor with some bells and pot plants, some storage, and even an armor stand. And you can see I've got this lighting throughout where I'm using a mangrove stair put on an angle in an item frame. It kind of looks like a heart, which works really nicely for a fantasy build like this. Behind me, when you walk in, there is a little living area, and then you turn around the corner into a kitchen where I've created this divider to separate the space. For the kitchen, I've got all the blocks you need for surviving, and the rest that are not down here are upstairs in our little crafting room. But I've displayed these in the form of the kitchen, which makes their utilitarian purpose much prettier. Got lots of shelves. I've created a little stovetop here, but let's take a look upstairs now. Now, upstairs, we have this ladder that leads to our little walkout, which provides a really pretty view. But you can see I've placed some barrels in this gap here and broken through a door to lead into the attic space, and I can just walk across here because I've got the barrels. Now this is coming into our little storage and our crafting room, and I've got all of the crafting blocks that I might need up here, as well as some storage. And then I've created a little divider here with a banner, and this leads me through to the bedroom. Now, of course, if you're building this in survival, you might need less of a living space in here, and you can dedicate more room to storage. And don't forget that you can always add a basement, perhaps by coming down the ladder here and continuing the ladder downwards if you need more storage space for a build in survival. But this build can be customized and decorated to look beautiful either in creative and survival, and you're going to have something fabulous either way. An important thing to keep in mind is the color palette of the build. So I've used mainly red here with a few pops of blue, like the couch that I'm sitting on, which ties in with the turtle eggs, as well as the blue in the bookshelves that are placed around the build. And don't be afraid to use lots of decor throughout your house. Having a busy look like this gives the eye lots of things to look at and can actually make the space feel more plentiful. So now you know how to build and decorate a mud and mangrove cottage. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you'd consider subscribing. It really helps me out, and then you'll get to see more tutorials like this one. Happy building, and I'll see you in the next one.